Have you ever revealed your weaknesses to an acquaintance only to find out that this person used them against you? Have you ever told someone things about yourself and then realized that it was the worst choice you could have made? But how many times has the worst thing happened to you, confiding your secret to a friend who then spilled it to everyone? If your answer is yes to at least one of these questions, then this video is for you. In fact, thanks to a Zen story and Buddhist wisdom, we will see the 10 things that an intelligent person never reveals about himself. You will understand why it is important to learn to keep your secrets like precious jewels and with whom you can share them safely, preventing them from ruining your life. And if you stay until the end, you will also know how to protect yourself from people who might abuse your confidences. Only in this way will you be able to live a free and happy life. But before continuing, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to be updated when we publish new content for your spiritual growth. While the morning sun filtered through the windows of the monastery and the scent of incense hovered in the air, creating an atmosphere of quiet and contemplation, the old monk Ian was ready to receive his disciples. These, sitting in silence in the meditation room, waited as always for their mentor to reveal to them pills of wisdom and personal growth, capable of guiding them towards inner peace. Ian spoke in a calm voice. Today, I will talk to you about 10 things that an intelligent person never reveals about himself. You must know that, as always, knowledge is power, but like a sharp sword, it can be used to wound or to heal. It is important to know how to discern what information to share about your life, and above all with whom. Because, my dears, words can be like feathers that caress us or like stones that hurt us. While the disciples listened with extreme attention, the elder Ian began by telling the story of Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai who, out of vanity, revealed his only weakness to his enemy. It was a blind spot in the left corner of his field of vision, which made him vulnerable to attacks from his opponents. And the enemy, in fact, took advantage of this during the duel and killed him without any scruple. Your weaknesses are like precious gems, always keep them safe in your inner safe, the monk warned in a solemn voice. Remember that sharing them is like handing over the key to your house to a potential enemy or a thief. Don't let anyone into your home. Don't let others exploit your vulnerabilities. Memory of a young monk who, tormented by doubts about his faith, confessed his spiritual weaknesses to another monk who, in reality, was envious of his path. The latter used his confidences to discredit him in the eyes of the master, causing unpleasant consequences and great suffering to the young man. Revealing your weaknesses can expose you to criticism, ridicule, and even manipulation from ill-intentioned people. Instead, it is important to cultivate self-compassion and self-confidence to transform weaknesses into strengths. Ian went on to talk about insecurities. Sharing your insecurities is like giving others a hammer to hit you, the monk said. Trust only in trusted people who can support you and not use certain information against you. Your insecurities are like delicate plants from which powerful trees can grow, but you must water them with love and the care of understanding, not with the poison of other people's judgment. To make this concept better understood, I am told of a woman who, anxious about a job interview, confessed her insecurities to a colleague. This, instead of comforting her, filled her with negative and sarcastic comments, increasing her stress level. Insecurities are already in themselves a source of internal suffering. It is not necessary to fuel them with the negativity of others, underlined the master. It is important to cultivate your self-esteem and surround yourself with positive people who know how to encourage and support you. The monk continued his lesson by telling the parable of a young monk who lost his faith after confessing his doubts to an unworthy master. Doubts are like clouds that obscure the sun, Ian said. Be patient, but light will shine again, Ian advised. Do not let doubts take you away from your spiritual path. Instead, entrust them to a wise mentor who will help you dispel them like fog in the morning. The monk told of a man in a crisis of faith who confided in a priest who, instead of listening to him with compassion, judged him harshly, strengthening his doubts and permanently distancing him from the church. Remember that spiritual doubts are a natural part of growing up. It is important not to fear them, but to face them with courage and open-mindedness. Find a wise guide who can help you, and don't tell them lightly to just anyone. Once a man having a crisis of faith confided in me, Ian said. I listened to him with patience and compassion, without scolding him or confusing him with my own views. To reassure him, I told him stories of other men who had gone through similar doubts and taught him meditation techniques to cultivate inner peace. Thanks to this type of support, the man rediscovered his faith and his spiritual path. Remember that spiritual doubts are an opportunity to deepen your faith and grow spiritually. It is important not to fear them, but to face them with courage and open-mindedness. Ian, as the sun began to give way to the moon, introduced another thing you shouldn't talk about with anyone: your fears. Fears, he said, are like shadows that chase us. If we chase them, they get bigger. If we ignore them, they dissolve, said the monk. So, don't give power to your fears by telling them to others. Face them with courage and determination, transforming them into butterflies of hope that will lead you towards the light. Think of a child terrified of spiders who tells his fear to a friend who, as a joke, scares him even more with invented stories and horrifying images. And the child, because of this, develops an arachnophobia that will torment him for the rest of his life. Sharing your fears can strengthen them and make them more real, added the monk. It is important, however, to face them with courage and with the help of competent people who can teach you how to manage and overcome them. Your future plans are another important thing that you should never talk about with anyone, Ian continued. Doing so could fill you with very rigid expectations that will pave the way for severe disappointments. Leave room for improvisation and surprise, suggested the wise mentor. Unveiling your plans is like shackling fate. Instead, make sure you embrace uncertainty with confidence, knowing that the journey is as important as the destination. Ian told his disciples about a woman who, longing to become a mother, told all of her friends about her plan to have a child. When, after several failed attempts, she did not get pregnant, she felt frustrated and disappointed due to the constant questions and interference of others. Always remember that sharing your future plans can expose you to pressure and judgment from others, which can hinder the realization of your goals. For this reason, rather than talking about it, it is important to cultivate perseverance and self-confidence and persevere in your dreams despite difficulties. It is also important not to feel obliged to share your projects with everyone, but only with trusted people who can give us support. Negative experiences are like stones on the path. Do not stumble on the same stone twice, said the monk, introducing the sixth thing not to talk about with anyone. Don't wallow in the pain of the past and only share it with those who can help you heal and heal your wounds. Make sure you turn your negative experiences into life lessons that will make you stronger and more resilient. One day, I decided to talk about a trauma I had experienced in the past to a group of people I considered friends, said a woman present at the lesson. These people, instead of understanding or at least respecting my point of view, began to judge me, causing me to fall into despair. And this, continued the monk, plunged you back into pain and hindered your healing process, making you lose precious time. The woman, moved by the empathy shown by the monk, replied that was exactly how things had happened. Sharing your negative experiences can be useful for receiving support and comfort, but it is important to do it with trusted people who know how to listen without judgment, added Ian, looking into the eyes of his disciples. Also, you don't have to get stuck in the past, remembering negative experiences that cause you pain. Instead, you must use these events to grow and become stronger than ever. While the candles and the fire in the fireplace warmed the atmosphere, making us forget the cold and the storm that raged outside the monastery, the wise master continued with the seventh lesson. The opinions of each of us are like seeds, he said. Plant them carefully in the fertile soil of mutual respect and avoid discussing controversial topics with people who display a closed and backward mentality. Constructive dialogue is like a bridge that unites two banks and helps us grow. Don't burn it because of the intolerance shown by ignorant people who lack empathy or compassion. I remember a man who, during a dinner with friends, expressed his opinion on a very controversial political topic. The discussion degenerated into a heated argument with mutual insults and accusations, which ruined the evening and created tensions that never resolved. The example I told you about helps us understand that expressing one's opinions in an assertive and respectful way is important, but it is essential to know how to discern the context and the people with whom one is speaking. Likewise, it is equally important to be willing to listen to other people's opinions and admit that you are wrong if necessary. Mutual respect must always be the basis of our human connections. Material wealth is ephemeral. Don't flaunt it like a trophy, the monk warned, speaking of another topic not to talk about with anyone. The true wealth to be shared with generosity is what we have in our hearts and which can help others feel better. If we share this type of wealth, we set in motion a positive process that will have good effects on our karma. If, on the contrary, we share the wealth of our bank account, we ignite envy and jealousy. A man present at the meeting, who had earned a lot of money in his life through his work, said that flaunting his wealth with expensive clothes and luxury cars had led to isolation. Social envy and resentment from the people around him, in fact, caused many to distance themselves from him. This made him suffer, but also reflect on the people he had associated with up to that point. True wealth is not measured in material possessions, but in spiritual values such as generosity, compassion, and gratitude, Ian added. It is important to cultivate these values and use your wealth to live peacefully and do good. Your romantic relationships are another topic you shouldn't talk about with others, the monk said, introducing one of the last points he was talking about. Love is a delicate flower. Avoid exposing it to the cold wind of other people's judgment, said Ani. Protect your privacy and don't put your feelings out there. Love is an intimate journey to be experienced with your loved one, not with the public. A woman in love with a married man told her story to a friend who, out of envy, spread the news throughout the community. This caused the woman great suffering and damaged her reputation. Romantic relationships are delicate and must remain private. It is important to protect them from external intrusions and share them only with trusted people who know how to support and not judge. The secrets and mistakes made in one's life, continued the old monk, are like precious jewels to be kept in a sturdy and safe safe. Sharing the secrets and mistakes committed in the past with the wrong people can ruin your existence. Open your heart only to those who have already demonstrated that they are worthy of your confidence and trust. I remember a doctor who came to visit me here at the monastery. One day, overwhelmed by a mistake he had made when he was young, he told the story he had hidden for years to a colleague. Instead of understanding this, he reported the incident and ruined his career. The secrets and mistakes we have made, my dears, are a very fragile part of ourselves, and it is important to protect them and share them only with trusted people who know how to guard them with respect and compassion. Ian, while the disciples were grateful for what they had just learned, continued his lesson with a parable. A wise man walked through the forest with a sack full of precious stones. At one point, he met a thief who asked him what was in that sack. The wise man replied, "Only stones." The thief, disappointed, let him go. The wise man smiled. "The true gems were hidden in my heart." The 10 things I have listed for you are like the precious gems of the wise man, Ian told his disciples. Keep them with care and share them only with those who deserve your trust. In this way, you will preserve your inner peace and achieve true spiritual growth. Be like the lotus that blooms in the mud. Maintain your inner purity even in the chaotic world around you. Trust yourself and your inner wisdom, and be the lighthouse that lights the path for yourselves and for others. But what does this story teach us? That words are like stones. they can be used to build walls and bridges or to hurt and destroy. That trust is a precious gift. It shouldn't be wasted on people who don't deserve it. It teaches us that true strength does not lie in external things, but in our heart. That wisdom is the fruit of a long journey of learning and experience, and love is the most powerful force in the universe. And again, that life is a precious gift and must be lived with courage, compassion, and gratitude. And above all, it teaches us that each of us has the power to choose our own destiny.